Hola, buenos días.
Buenas tardes, buenas noches.
This is Barb.
And this is Estela.
And welcome to
Cafecito.
And Crime. Welcome back, sister.
Welcome you back, too. I was going to say welcome us back.
Welcome us back.
Welcome you back.
Welcome.
We're back.
We're back. Welcome to the situation.
This week.
We're back. Thank you so much for everybody's support and understanding. We really appreciate it. That everybody has been so supportive and asking how we're doing. We're doing great. Mm-hmm. It was just life been lifing.
Yeah.
Life is lifing.
I feel like we haven't done this in a while.
It has been a while. And let me tell y'all what happened to me.
Get ready. Always.
So I've been back on my walking journey, because I'm trying to, shed a few lbs, right? So Estela would invite me walking, and then our walking is usually like an hour. Mm-hmm. So then everything was cool. I get all my 10,000 steps. I'm chilling, thrilling, whatever. Okay. So I think I have talked about how I had a rash not too long ago, but thinking that it was a cake.
Yes.
So I think I did talk about it, but I don't know, briefly.
We did.
But then, bitch, why did it come back?
Yeah.
And so then...
No, you thought it was the Benadryl cream.
And then I thought it was Benadryl cream because...
Or cortisone.
Benadryl first.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I got it again. Then I got Benadryl cream. That's exactly what it was. It probably burned me, whatever. Así pasó. Días después... Estela was like, hey, you want to go walking? I said, yeah, déjame cambio when I get home from work and we'll go. So I got home from work. I put on sunscreen to go because I always wear sunscreen every day, as everybody should. Y nos fuimos a caminar. So ya estuvo todo chido. When we come back, my face is hot. And I'm like, it's just because we were walking.
And it's fucking hot outside.
It's fucking hot outside.
Sí.
Pero ese día it was really pretty. So we went with your mom, remember?
Yeah.
Was it the day we went? Yeah, we went with your mom.
Yeah, it was.
So then I llegué yo y estaba yo bien roja. And I'm like, pues ha de haber sido el calor, whatever. So when I started showering y que me estaba lavando la cara is when I felt it burning. And I'm like, oh shit, here we go. So now I realized what it was. It was the sunscreen I was using.
Yeah.
So the sunscreen mixed with whatever sweat that I had was burning my fucking face.
All this time.
So me not knowing, I'm chilling or whatever. So then, pues no se me quitaba. I got another shot. I got y nada. So finally, it burned my skin. So all of this right here on my chin was burnt. And then I had a piece burned right here on my chin,
under your eye.
Under my eye. Y luego aquí by my eyebrow.
Because Barbie... Like I said, we haven't been here in a couple of weeks or recording a couple of weeks. So Barbie went to Denver. Yeah. And she had it on her chin for her trip.
For my trip. Yeah. So all my trip, I would look dry as fuck. Like I was peeling from here.
Crust.
And my best friend was like, no, it looks way better today. So I was putting Aquifer. And then not only that, but as you know, like Denver is really dry. So then my best friend was like, no, it's looking way better. I'm like, girl.
And then you're so light.
Yes.
Like you can tell right away that, something's wrong with your face.
And I was worried because I'm like, what if it turns like brown or something? Como quemada. Yeah. Like straight up. I was like, okay, well, if it happens, I was already thinking, what am I going to do?
No, but it's completely gone.
It's back to normal. But
tan siquiera ya sabes qué es.
Yes, because I thought it was cake. So that's great because that way I can eat cake again.
Yeah. And then you thought it was Benadryl cream, pero ya sabes que no es Benadryl cream.
I think I just overdid it with and I don't know if people
care.
Oh, it's because as we know tonight the Mavericks have a game, so my sister's already messaging me about if these Mavericks win today. But anyway, so go Mavs. But I was like, on top of that, I think it también tiene mucho que ver que I wear a lot of retinol creams and porque pues no me quiero poner arrugada, güey.
No, yeah, but retinol you wear at night.
No, pero that it thins out your skin.
No, that's true because I've had to stop using my retinol because me quema the next day when I'm putting on sunscreen shit, me arde la pinche cara la verga.
Yeah.
And I have to, so now I've done like you got retinol every night, but I do it every other day.
Yeah. And that's what my doctor told me. Mm-hmm. She was like, which by the way, I have the best doctor in the whole wide world. You do too, because he's your doctor too. But anyway, so then like she told me, she's like, mándame todo lo que te estás poniendo en la cara. And I'm like, it's because I'm not wearing nothing different. Like I was arguing that with her, but I think that particular sunscreen was burning with everything else.
Yeah, everything. No, yeah, now that I think about it, it's true. There's been a couple of times like when the following morning, que me pongo sunscreen in the mornings and I do like my skincare in the mornings or whatever, que me arde la cara, like especially in my chin area. I don't know if you can tell I have some right here.
Redness.
I thought it's because I'm always blowing my nose, but it's not because that had made it worse.
It does. So what I had to do was I got like extra sensitive, like baby butt skin fucking cream, whatever I could. And that's what I've been wearing because tengo miedo que me vaya a poner roja otra vez. And I mean, if it happens again, I understand, pero es que it's not about the un día y se me quita y me tomo unas Benadryls.
No, pero at least now you know, lay off the retinol, do it every other day, and stop using that sunscreen that you were using at least, and then you'll be good. You can eat your cake and you're fine. That
retinol from the Korean people, they are not playing fucking games.
My friend brought me from Mexico, I think it fue su hermano, and she brought all of us the Trentanol. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, the Mexico.
But I have that shit. I have it because my doctor prescribed it.
I haven't used it. I have like 2 bottles of retinol, so I'm going to use that up and then I'll switch
just be
over.
very sparing how you use it because that is like...
It's top of the line shit.
Yeah, it's concentrated.
But I've been on retinol for years, so they say that
it's fine.
Yeah, like my skin has built up to that type of.
Because I wore retinol for like a while because once again I have the best doctor in the whole wide world, and she sent it to me. And then another thing that I wanted to discuss. We're moving on because
we'll get to the episode. We promise.
Yeah. Well, the reason is because I have a lot to say.
Yeah,
we haven't been here in a long time, right?
So a long time for us, and I'm sure our listeners too.
Well, yeah, for them, but not only that, but we're going to get to the episode in a minute. I need to necesito que alguien me explique, por qué los pinches sharks andan haciendo fiero. Like, I need to know.
Oh, I think you're going to talk about not even sharks, pero los pinches mosquitos y las pinches moscas, güey. Están insoportables. No puedes hacer nada. They're all up on you. And the mosquitoes are biting you through your clothes.
Bitch, they're evolving. They're evolving. Like this morning, I tried to hit a mosquito and kill it. I was in the kitchen and it flew away. Since when do they fly away? Like, since when do they know somebody's coming?
Yeah.
I thought they were just like, sit there.
They're all over the place.
They're evolving y tienen pinches piernas and shit.
Well, but I think they've always have piernas.
They're like piernas con bones and shit. Pero these fucking sharks. I don't know if anybody's been on the trend. I mean, on the TikTok. Que están hablando de los shark attacks. Bro, 3 people were injured. And then like 2 of them had amputations. Like these sharks are out of fucking control.
I wonder what's going on.
The world's about to end according to my sister. So maybe. But something's going on. And
I've seen enough. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm good.
Personally.
I'm chilling.
I'm just kidding.
But I'm just saying, like, fuck, bitch. Like, these fucking sharks are no joke. Like, están donde quiera. And
I need an expert's input. What is going on in the oceans?
Knowing anything that watches Shark Week religiously that knows, because obviously,
Sure, I was telling Barbie, I'm like, Shark Week is coming up.
So it's probably because of that's why they're acting a fool.
It's promo.
I don't understand, pero they're like jumping and shit. What the fuck? Like,
no.
Something has to be fucking with them. I mean, maybe there's no food. Maybe the humans
waters are so hot, but
yeah. But I mean, it's not the first time.
I don't know. We're not professionals. We don't know what we're talking about.
Really
but something has to be going on for sure.
Let's take a quick break.
Persons of Interest is back, and it's bigger than ever.
That scream will echo in my head for many years.
Taser! He's gonna shoot! Oi! Shot fired! Shots fired! Stay out! You gotta go on you!
He had the perfect aim.
I am absolutely stressed at that point. I have no idea where my officers are.
Persons of Interest available everywhere you get your podcasts.
No, but I'm sad because they're around like Destin, kids. And Destin is beautiful.
Oh, I mean, it's right now everybody's out of school.
Wants to go. Yeah,
no,
I want to go to Pensacola. Like I drove by Pensacola, but I want to go there and get in that beach. But como chingado voy a hacer si me van a salir 3 sharks? Fuck that shit. Hell nah.
I don't know what to tell you. Go to a pool.
Apparently. Oh, I have a pool, by the way.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have any of the parts that we need. Because
who sold it to you?
My sister.
Okay.
We're about to whoop her ass. Matter of fact, if you're listening to this, Hilda,
Vanessa,
I know where the fuck you live, bitch. And go maps. Okay, so let's get started with today's episode.
Yes. So For today's episode, we are going to Norwalk, Connecticut.
Okay. Have we been to Connecticut?
I don't believe that we have.
I don't think we have, huh?
Haven't recalled. I can't recall. I don't know.
But if you have been or have not and you would like to come with us, grab your cafecitos.
And let's get started. So, the fun, random, interesting fact about Norwalk.
I don't remember the last time we did fun, random versus the reason fact. It's been that long.
I know. It's that Norwalk has the nickname of Oyster Town.
Hopefully not Shark Town.
No, bitch. I said Oyster Town, not Shark Town.
I'm scared of these sharks, too.
Oysters provide a large source of income to the city, and they actually hold the Norwalk Oyster Festival annually, which takes place the first weekend after Labor Day. So obviously, it's a couple of months away, ¿verdad? Mm-hmm. It's actually a 3-day celebration where there's obviously amazing seafood, various food vendors, carnival rides, and entertainment. Like they actually hold concerts. It kind of reminded me of the rodeo about 3 days, not, 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And it is reported that the annual attendance for the festival exceeds 90,000 people.
Damn. That's a lot of fucking people.
In 3 days.
Yeah. So that's awesome for the community.
Norwalk.
Yeah, like they get their money's, worth. And it's called what? The Oyster Festival?
The Norwalk Oyster Festival.
I wonder if they have little shirts that have oysters on it. That'd be cute. I would want one. I don't know.
Are you thinking about clams?
No, I know what an oyster is looking like. I'm just saying it would be cute if it had like a little oyster, the shirts. I would buy one, a sticker.
Are you an oyster girly?
No, I like oyster. I mean, I'll eat them. Pero a fuerza.
Si no hay nada más.
Si no hay nada más.
If everybody else is.
Yeah. Well, if everybody's like, oh, you should try it. I'm like, I have to try it anymore. Que diga que no, toda ranchera and shit. Tampoco tú no.
No, I will not. I'll eat a fried oyster, which we have, but I don't want to try a regular oyster. It's a texture thing. It looks like shit, or it looks like
I don't think my shit looks like that.
It looks like a loogie. And isn't there some sort of bacteria that's like killing people in oysters or something like that?
It's like ¿cómo se llama esa madre that element? ¿Cómo se le dice? Not magnesium. What the fuck? ¿Cómo se dice?
I think that one's fine.
Yeah, I think that one's good. I don't remember, but there's like some toxic shit. Dicen, I don't know. Dicen.
I wouldn't know. I don't eat oysters.
Pero te voy a decir una cosa. Que I don't know what the flavor is for. Like, I don't get like what the flavor.
Because I know, se la comen con salsa, right? Like limón con salsa picante.
Yeah, pero I don't get it. I mean, I'm happy for you. More
if
power
you like
to
them.
you. Yes, I'm very happy. Pero I mean, se come con ceviche or like I don't get it.
You just eat them out the shell, right? You just crack it open.
No, hay gentes que se la comen como en cóctel.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a lot of people eat it like that too.
Oh,
con galletas saladas. O en aguachile? No? Okay.
Not I personally, but yeah, that's the fun, random, interesting fact
so cool.
about Norwalk.
I think we're going to Norwalk.
You don't want to get any other water, remember?
Pues sí, pero allá no hay, allá es nada más el festival, pues. Nada más voy al pinche festival, cállate.
Okay. Today we're going to be talking about the case of James Langley, who was just horribly killed by someone.
And let me guess, for no reason.
Exactly.
Oh.
So let's get started. Now, James Langley was born outside of Greenville, North Carolina in Pitt County in 1951. So not much is known about his early life, except that he grew up in the town that he grew up in was in a rural area, and he grew up on a farm. And as far as I know or could find, had 2 brothers, Willie and Donnie. He was described as a very hard worker, and so much so that he would later in his life start his own business.
Good job.
But we'll get to that, right? James was also someone who enjoyed life and loved to laugh and make people laugh. One of his sons later on, his name is Terrence, would say that about his dad, that all he wanted to do was work and just laugh. That was like his thing. So I think we can all
relate a little bit. Yeah, definitely. I like laughing and laughing at work.
Yeah. I don't want to work, but I want to laugh.
I laugh all the time. I laugh at people.
I laugh at myself.
Yeah, because you don't work with anybody. I laugh at my coworkers, with my coworkers.
I laugh at my coworkers.
Yeah.
Years later, Willie, one of James's brothers, made the move to Connecticut. And he followed suit since there weren't many job opportunities in the small town that they grew up in. Once there, he got a job working for the DOT, the Department of Transportation, being highways and that sort of thing. He also ended up getting married and divorced and had 2 sons from 2 different relationships. And while the relationships with the mothers of his sons didn't work out, James maintained a good relationship with his children. He spent time with his kids and attended their sporting events such as basketball and baseball. And it was at one of those baseball games for his other son, Corey, where he met a woman who also had a son who played baseball in the same league. And her name was Marianne. So let's talk about Marianne a little bit.
So okay.
Marianne Stokes was born in 1949 in a small rural town called Santee, North Carolina, which she had that in common with James because, James also grew up in a small rural town in North Carolina.
That's a weird word.
Rural.
Pero ¿cómo se dice en español? Rural?
No.
Rural?
No.
Is that even a word? I don't know.
No.
Okay, my pleasure.
Like I said, she had that in common with James. They were both from small rural towns in North Carolina. She was 1 out of 6 kids and also moved to Norwalk, Connecticut with one of her sisters.
Oh, cool.
Whom she was really close to. And she moved after high school. There, she got a job at the Norwalk Hospital as part of the surgical team, where they would clean tools for operations and,
Bro, speaking of that, sorry to interrupt you, but I saw a TikTok. I know we should be TikTok, ¿cómo se llama? I should be a commercial for TikTok. Mm-hmm. But anyway, de un muchacho, and he cleans tools like Marianne here. And that is the most difficult job that they have because they have to go through certain criteria to make sure that they're super it's crazy.
Up to code essentially, right?
And he's he stands for 15 hours a day because he has to do it all at one time.
Well, yeah,
I'm that is so crazy. To me, that was my wow.
I don't think anybody thinks that far ahead as far as surgical tools, ¿verdad? You don't think, oh, ¿quién hace este trabajo?
Yeah, because they're not cheap. I know that for a fact.
Yeah. Oh, of course not.
They're not, because they're most of them are titanium or stainless or whatever it is, or because you don't want them in the middle of surgery and start rot, not rotting, pero que se empiecen a hacer como rusty.
Yeah.
So I'm dude, this poor guy, he's a young guy too, and he just has trays and trays and trays of in a
tools.
hospital, like her, of tools. And I'm that's a hard job.
I'm sure.
It never crossed my mind.
Yeah. I just thought they came they would open them in packets.
They do come in packets, but when they're already sterilized, yeah, they do.
So you still have to.
Yeah,
there's a process.
There's a process.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I was wow, that is so crazy.
Well, yeah, especially if you're using them to cut people open.
Yeah.
And using them
they have
inside of people's organs and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, también Marianne, she ended up getting married, had a son, but the marriage did not last very long and the couple decided to separate. Now, there wasn't any bad blood between them. They just didn't work out. Marianne was in her mid-20s and was focused on her job and her son, but it wasn't long after her divorce that she met James at the park.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, their sons were in the same baseball league and were about the same age. And when you're at the park, you meet and you see all these other parents that are usually always the same people that are going to be there.
Pretty much.
So they would, you strike up conversations, right?
I mean, you kind of are sitting there for an hour or whatever. And
watching your children play and shit.
Oh my God, this is crazy. When is this going to end? Yeah. I would know. And my sister-in-law we just spoke to, she was in her car and watching
my nephew
our
practice.
Yeah. So, I mean, we know exactly how that feels.
So that's what, James and Marianne ended up striking conversation, and then their conversation started to last longer, and that turned into hanging out, and then they, that led to them dating. And they had a lot in common. They were both funny, made each other laugh. Their children got along. It was great. James' family loved Marianne and Marianne's family loved James. After dating for about 3 to 4 years, Marianne moved in with James and they ended up getting married in 1981. And by that point, it was just a formality. They had already been in each other's lives a good amount of time that they were intertwined, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't like they didn't need the paper. They were been together for so long. Yeah.
Right, right. And things were going great. And things got even better when Mary Ann's sister moved in right next door, along with her husband and her 2 kids. So James and Mary Ann were surrounded by family and what seemed like thriving in all aspects as far as
That is
people
so cool.
knew.
Can you move in next to me, please?
Can a house go on sale?
Can they not be $1 million? We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mary Ann still had her steady job at the hospital, and James had moved up in the DOT and had already become a foreman. They were doing well, but James wanted more for himself, and he always did. According to Corey, his son, James wanted to be his own boss and make his own money. So, taking everything that he had learned while working at the DOT, he quit his job at the age of 30.
At 30?
At 36.
Not the 36.
At the 36. At the age of 36.
Así como yo igualita de la misma edad.
And started his own painting company. His sons helped out, of course, when, they were a little bit older, like older teenagers.
So cool. And I know, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's so cool that his son knew so much about him. Because like you said before, he loved to laugh, he loved to work. Like, there's some kids like that wouldn't know those kind of things about your parents, you know?
Like I mentioned, even though his relationships with the moms didn't work out, he was very involved, or he was close
to his kids.
To his kids,
I think that is so amazing, because if it would have been like...
A veces oyes where, the dad como que... You're like,
he
oh,
didn't know anything about them. All they
Yeah.
did was work. He was never home. But for his son to be like, oh yeah, my dad was, this. Like, he actually knew him. Like, they were friends instead of just being.
They had a relationship.
Yeah, they had a relationship. Mm-hmm. So I think that's awesome.
And like I was saying, his sons helped him out, sealing driveways and that sort of thing. And with time, his business grew, and eventually he expanded into landscaping as well.
Nice.
He worked hard to build his business from the ground up. Like, he really did. And, he was out there working. He worked from the early morning into the late hours of the night. Now, James and Mary Ann also got into realty, and they owned commercial and rental properties. It was reported that their estate was worth over $1 million.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So they were very successful, and now in their 50s, they were able to enjoy the fruit of their labors. And in their downtime, they liked to travel, and they actually enjoyed going to casinos también.
Hopefully they didn't go to Florida.
And they could, obviously they could afford it. They were, like I said, they were doing well. Now, while some aspects of their lives were thriving, like they were financially, James's health, not so much.
Oh, man.
He had problems with diabetes, and he was told by his doctors up to that point that he needed to start taking it easy, Working so much wasn't helping his body or nothing of that sort. So in 2006, James was ready for a change in his life, and he was looking to make a move back to North Carolina.
To kind of chill out, slow down.
Right.
Okay.
To have like a more slow-paced life.
And I'm sure by this time, he's probably already established a relationship with his workers, and they're able to kind of function without him.
Right. Yes. But sadly, James wouldn't get that opportunity to, move back home. Not back home. I don't know if he wanted to move back to Greenville, around the Greenville area where he was from, or just, North Carolina, somewhere else in North Carolina. In the early morning hours of Thursday, December 14th, 2006, at around 5 a.m, the Norwalk Police Department received a call from a woman who said that her aunt, who lived next door, ran to tell her that her uncle, 55-year-old James Langley, was on fire.
What?
Mm-hmm.
On fire?
Yes.
Not like he was lit.
No.
He was actually lit.
Yes.
On fire.
See.
What the fuck?
So obviously paramedics and police immediately rushed to the Langley's home. And when they got there, they saw a vehicle that was driving erratically and attempting to back out of the driveway of the Langley's house. And when they, got close to the vehicle, it was James, who was trying to drive himself to the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. When they approached him and asked him what happened, he stated that he didn't know and that he had just woken up and was on fire. He was pretty incoherent and disoriented. Like he looked very confused, but he had burns on him, on his legs, chest, and arms, and he was in excruciating pain, and obviously had to be taken by ambulance to the hospital immediately. As James was being transported, Marianne was obviously being asked to calm down because the police needed to talk to her. You know, they needed to ask her questions. What happened? Yeah. She was very visibly distraught and didn't really have much to say at the moment. The little that she was able to state was that she had been sleeping downstairs in the basement and was woken up by James yelling her name. So she said that she corrió upstairs and saw James as he was attempting to extinguish the flames because he was on fire. On him, so he was dabbing.
Can you just fucking imagine? What the
being
fuck?
asleep and you wake up because you're being burned. Imagine.
I know.
I think that's one of like the worst things.
That is horrendous. Yeah.
Like I said, so she saw that he was dabbing on himself to extinguish himself out. And she was just like screaming, hey, what happened? What happened? And como que she was just, you know, everything was happening so fast that she just ran out the house, ran next door. Porque como te dije, you know, her sister lived next door. So she ran to them. And, you know, that's when she called, or when she saw her niece, and her niece ended up calling the police. So that's when they rushed over. Now, back at the hospital, James arrived with second and third degree burns over 30% of his body and was in critical condition. His condition was so severe that the doctors decided to put him in a medically induced coma so his body wouldn't go into shock from the pain. I mean, from his injuries. Yeah. And they didn't know if he was going to survive. Not only because of the severity of his burns, but also because he had already been in poor health due to his diabetes.
Yeah. So, and for you to come back from like a cut or a burn and stuff like that, it's
small,
hard.
Like on a smaller scale than second and third degree burns. Now, the investigation quickly began by arson detectives, and it wouldn't take them long to find evidence in the home of, you know,
foul play or
somebody that, you know, had possibly set a fire. As soon as you walked into the home, or as soon as they walked into the home, there was a strong smell of gasoline, like an accelerant, especially in the upstairs area. When investigators walked into the couple's bedroom, they noticed that obviously the rest of the house hadn't gone up in flames. When they, you know, initially arrived, they went into the home and realized that nothing else was on fire.
That's crazy though, because only he was on fire.
Right. Nothing else had tampoco, not even just in the rest of the house, in the bedroom, in their bedroom. Nothing else was on fire, but a specific small area, which is where James was laying down.
Not lames.
There was some burnt carpet and just some burnt clothing.
His bed.
And the bed, yeah. And on the floor, and that's it. Nothing else in the room had been lit.
So crazy. For him to burn, I mean, that quickly, it must have been a really high, like the high degrees, like for him to burn second and third degree burn. I mean, any burn, obviously. But
as soon as if somebody set you on fire, of course, but it's like, on your fucking skin.
But imagine, like, what I'm saying is, it must have been just like concentrated on him, because for it not to burn anything else, that's pretty crazy.
Right. And exactly my point to what I was about to say that you said. I mean, obviously the evidence that was in the room that they found matched what James had told them initially, that he woke up and that he was on fire. Nothing else was on fire. And the fact that only he was on fire meant that obviously somebody did it on purpose.
Yeah, definitely. Because there's no way that would have happened if, like, accidentally some spark or something.
Right. If you had a candle or something, you know, unless the candle was on you, you were sitting it on your stomach or something. Downstairs in the kitchen, on the countertop by the kitchen sink, obviously it's in the kitchen. I don't know why I said it like that.
On the kitchen sink.
There was a book of matches that was found right there. And you could see that only one match had been taken out.
Wow.
Not only that, but a used match was in the sink.
Okay.
In the trash can, which was right next to the sink, investigators found a plastic cup que huelía a puro gasoline.
Wow.
And another one was also found by the back door that was partially melted. The one that was found by the back door, it was a styrofoam cup. And it was like I just said, a little bit melted. And it was found along with the container of acetone.
Like for your nails?
I don't know. They just said acetone in the case file.
What
So
the
I don't know if
fuck?
it was like a gasoline, since they said that the rest of the home smelled like a lot of gasoline. Now, investigators obviously needed more answers. And with James in a coma, the only other person that was in the home that they could speak to was Marianne. So they called her the very next morning while she was at the hospital to go in for questioning. And it was going to be a formal interview this time around. Marianne went into detail about how the previous night had unfolded. And she stated that when James got home from work, he didn't seem right, or he didn't seem like he was feeling well, and thought that it was due to his, medical condition with his diabetes. They had dinner, according to her, and afterward they sat down to watch TV in el sofá. And then James, dice que out of nowhere, James slumped over. She thought that it was because, of his diabetes. And so she, shook him awake and took his sugar reading. And that the reading showed that his sugar was really high.
I figured.
According to Marianne, she decided to drive him to the hospital because she was worried. Pero dice que when they arrived, she said, he had been acting funny, que he was just really, really being really stubborn. He was like, I do not want to get off of this car. I'm going to be fine. Just take me back home. And she said that he was being hard-headed, y para no pelearse con él, she was just like, well, he said that he was feeling better. So I just, turned around and we went back home. When they got back home, she said that she made sure que he was acostado para dormirse. So ella se fue a acostar al basement because when he gets like that or feels unwell, dice que va a usar mucho el baño. So
yeah, because his body is trying to release the glucose or sugar or whatever you want to call it from his body. So what happens is they pee a lot.
Yeah, so para ella dormir tranquila. That's why she's like, I just left him there, put him to bed, and I went downstairs to sleep in I don't know if they had a bed in the basement or a sofa in the basement. Y ella se fue a acostar al basement para poder dormir. And she said that she had a good night's sleep, and it wasn't until the morning, like 5 a.m, que she heard the screams of James, que ella corrió para arriba, that she woke up. And then that's when, she ran outside for help and, what we already know. But this time she says that James, before she ran outside, when he was extinguishing the fires from himself, he said to her, "What did you do? What did you do?"
Huh?
Yeah.
What the fuck? Mm-hmm. And she told that to the investigators?
Yeah. So according to Marianne, when James would have like a crash in his blood sugar, he would get like really confused and say and do things that were out of character or just
which makes sense
out of nowhere.
His body is, his mind is, okay.
Now, after the interview, Marianne, they finished up the interview, and then Marianne went back to the hospital, because she was staying with her husband. Investigators then spoke to Marianne's niece, the one that lived next door, and a nephew. There was a nephew also there. Excuse me. And the niece's story, what she told police, backed up Marianne's as far as, when she ran to ask them for help, and also James accusing Marianne or telling her, what did you do? What did you do? The niece herself told them that she asked James what happened, and that he said that Marianne had done it.
What the fuck?
And that Marianne set him on fire. And Marianne's nephew also told investigators that he point blank asked James, he didn't ask him what happened. He asked James, who set you on fire? Y que James le dijo that it was Marianne. Which again, investigators knew because Marianne les había dicho that James was saying that or insinuating that. But unlike in her interview, where she alluded that James was confused because of his medical condition and didn't know what he was saying, Marianne's niece and nephew didn't think that he was confused.
He didn't look so out of it.
No, they believed what he was saying. That it was Marianne that set him on fire. And then they told investigators
and that's her aunt.
Right, that's their aunt.
What the fuck?
Mm-hmm. And it was due to the ongoing issues in the couple's marriage, according to family or relatives.
Okay.
According to the niece and nephew, James had many affairs throughout their marriage and throughout the years, and Marianne was aware. Now, with the possible motive, investigators had a primary suspect. As the investigation continued, one thing that pointed in the direction of Marianne as suspect number one was the fact that one specific part of James was not burned. And that was like his groin area. So
His wee-wee.
right. So but the top part of his hands were, or the back of his hands were. So they concluded that he was covering his groin area when he was set on fire.
Oh.
So you knew you were going to be set on fire if your instinct was to cover your groin, or if something was being thrown at you.
Yeah, because that's the first thing you do.
Right.
You go like this. Well, I mean, not personally because I don't have a wee-wee, but
Right.
other people do.
Yeah.
Men.
Right. Investigators again spoke to Marianne, and she maintained her story. Ella dijo que ella no le hizo nada a su husband y que no dice que I don't know what happened. I don't know what to tell you. I woke up like I told you that I did, and that's what I saw. But with the information that they had learned, like the affairs, they didn't really believe, what she was telling them.
Especially because let's go back a little bit. Mm-hmm. So my mind is bringing me to why the fuck would he try to drive himself to the hospital instead of getting her to drive him?
Right.
So he was probably trying to get away from her.
Because she ran outside, remember?
Yeah, but in that case, he didn't say, hey, take me to the hospital immediately.
Right. Or
you know what I mean? Something was up with that.
Right.
That which was weird to me because if he was going in circles and
driving erratically,
then, but if she was there, then why didn't she just drive him herself?
Right.
If she was so concerned.
Or why didn't she call the ambulance from her house? Why did she run next door?
Exactly.
It was 2006. People had landlines and phones and cell phones, right?
Okay, calm down. I'm not that old. Yes, there was a cell phone. I was already married to your brother.
No, you were dating.
No, we were already together.
Yeah. But you were married.
I mean, no, we didn't get married till 09. But anyway.
That's what I'm saying.
But what I'm saying is we were together.
I'm trying to think.
I was already with your brother. Anyway, so what I was saying was, yes, they had cell phones. So if that was the case, then why wouldn't he be like, hey...
No, why do you run out?
Yeah, or why not say...
Well, I mean, I guess we shouldn't judge because when you're in that situation...
I'm just saying, I'm not judging anybody. All I'm saying was it was just odd that he was...
Let's not make assumptions.
Right. All I'm saying, it was just odd the fact that he was driving in circles trying to get himself to the hospital
instead of...
when he could have just waited for her to come back or call the cops or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I was saying.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Proceed.
No. I completely see where you're coming from. I get your point.
Thank you.
So with that information learned about the affairs and such, they decided to go down that avenue of his affairs. And they tracked down James's latest mistress, I guess you can say. Her name was Diana. And Diana told investigators that she had met James 3 years prior while he was doing a landscape job.
Oh, so se metía con las clients.
I'm not really sure what she was doing at this job. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but they began having conversations and soon their talks were lasting for long periods of time. And soon enough, she was showing up at other job sites that he was at and spending time with James. It was reported that ella se subía en su truck con él and they were riding around and even on the tractor.
Not the tractor.
You know that big green tractor song that Jason Aldean?
Not the tractor. She took it too far.
Now, according to Diana, this wasn't just like a rinky-dinky affair. No. Ella dice that it was significant, that they loved each other.
Wow. They loved each other. Not loved each other.
Loved each other. And that James was going to leave Marianne for Diana.
I mean, 3 years, dude. That's a lot. But I mean, también a veces eso dicen los hombres.
Right.
Right. So I don't know.
And remember how I mentioned that James wanted to move back to North Carolina? Well, Marianne didn't want to.
Oh.
And Diana did.
Oh, so he was like, well, since you don't want to, I'm going to move with somebody else.
Correct. She also went on to state that once Marianne found out about the affair between James and Diana, que Marianne began to stalk Diana.
I mean, do you blame her?
She followed her to her house and such, and then would drive by all day and night so she could find them together. Y cuando miraba que la truck de James estaba en la casa de Diana, she would honk the horn and she wouldn't let up hasta que él salía de la casa de ella.
I mean, I'm sorry.
I mean, I'm
not blaming her for some of the things that she did. I don't know about if allegedly, some of the things that she did. But I mean, that's a little, you're dating her man, bruh.
They're married.
They're married,
right? Pero, I mean, he's married.
Which, by the way, doesn't give you a right to do any of that stuff, like stalking people and shit like that. Pero, I mean, I could understand her state of mind and why she was upset.
Yeah. You're not acting rationally.
Because if you're going to date my husband that's married and that and that you're fully aware that he's been married to me for years.
For over 20 years.
You better be ready.
Yeah.
Because it's about to go down.
And especially if he's telling her that, I guess, because también él estaba diciendo that he,
exactly. So a lo mejor ella también was like, yeah.
La va a dejar. O a lo mejor le dijo, maybe they're already separated. Like, we don't know,
we don't know. Yeah.
We don't know. So with all that was said, Diana was asked by investigators if she thought that Marianne could have set James on fire. And she said, honestly, that she didn't know. I mean, it was one thing to stalk somebody and, maybe make a scene. But from that to set somebody on fire, como que, wait.
That's a big stretch.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
And that's not only that, but that's cool about her because if she wanted to be a bitch, she would be like, yep, she did it. And that's some shit that I would do.
Investigators then spoke to Donnie. Remember, he's one of James's brother.
Yeah.
And they were told that Marianne had actually filed for divorce from James a year prior, so in 2005. And it seemed like the couple was ready to go their separate ways. But the divorce proceedings were eventually called off. From what I understood, when they got married in 1981, there was a prenup.
Oh.
So when Marianne started the proceedings for divorce, she realized that she wasn't going to walk away with a lot.
Whoa. It's because when they got married, he had nothing.
Mm-hmm. So she decided to call off the divorce and, I guess, put up with his infidelity. Maybe she had tired up to that point in 2005.
But also, like, James, I mean, bruh, like, so you're just going to be like, okay, you either leave me and you get nothing, or you stay with me and you have to deal with me being,
No, but I think that I guess she just wasn't going to get as much as she thought that she was. She was going to get something, maybe half of the house and that sort of thing. But like,
I would take everything.
The commercial,
I want everything.
But there was a prenup.
Exactly.
So,
but they didn't have, even at that, everything that he had, she helped him
build. But I don't know how
that works with prenups. Yeah.
Right. So I don't know how
we don't have money
the
like
business was set up. So
yeah.
Quién sabe. So especially since they learned that Marianne was addicted to gambling.
Oh.
And needed to be able to fund her addiction. And actually that addiction was the cause for a lot of their problems, James's and Marianne's. It got to a point where James had to cut her off. And there was an instance where a él se le perdió dinero. And James was sure que fue Marianne que se lo robó. Yeah. And he confronted her about it. Y ella dijo que it wasn't her. That ella no sabía que le había pasado el dinero. And that was like a breaking point for James in their marriage. And supposedly that's when he began to make plans to leave her. Según. A motive that's prevalent in a lot of these type of cases was also present in this one. James had a life insurance policy of $300,000, which Marianne could collect since James unfortunately passed away on December 26th, literally the day after Christmas, 2006, from his injuries.
Oh, shit.
So 12 days after, he died.
Yeah.
His autopsy listed complications from burns as the cause of death, and the manner was listed as homicide.
Yeah.
Investigators spent months building a case against Marianne. Months. Which it was, the investigation that we went through, everything that they were putting together.
Yeah.
And on March 2007, she was arrested for James's murder and was charged with first-degree murder.
Holy shit.
So she maintained that she didn't do it and that she didn't know what happened to him. So her trial began on October 6, 2008. So almost 2 years later. The prosecution's case presented James's death as a revenge killing by Marianne. She was obviously pissed off that her husband was trying to leave her for another woman. They theorized that when James told her that he was going to do just that, leave her, she decided to kill him. And she wanted him to suffer. That's why his injuries were as bad as they were. And that's why, allegedly, she had poured gasoline on top of him and set him on fire. The prosecutors would also later have Diana, take the stand to present that motive harder to the jury, that it was because he was going to leave her for Diana. The defense's argument was that James, in his confusion and disorientation from his diabetes, set himself on fire.
What?
Marianne had been a great wife for 25 years who helped James become a successful businessman and supported him. She had loved him and, took care of him in sickness and in health. And that Marianne was just a poor woman who had been cheated on.
Okay.
Now, during the trial, which lasted about 2 weeks, the prosecution rebutted the defense's argument that it was due to complications from his diabetes that made him set himself on fire by presenting testimony that James's diabetes wasn't as bad as Marianne made it out to be. One of James's son testified that 1, James took insulin, and 2, managed to maintain a good diet to keep his diabetes in check.
Okay.
The prosecution also called Marianne's niece and nephew to testify to James's injury, that night or that early morning. And what he stated to them when they asked him who had done this to you, who set you on fire, which, to them, he had said that it was Marianne. During the defense's cross-examination of the niece and nephew, they pointed out that that morning was very confusing for everybody. A lot was going on. And especially for James, who was in shock and suffering from high blood sugar. That's why he said what he did to them, out of confusion and his injuries. They also got the niece and nephew to admit that in the past, James had been delusional because of his diabetes. And to add to their argument, they brought out their star witness, who was a doctor whose specialty was treating diabetes. According to this doctor, James's sugar level in his blood was high enough to cause troubling symptoms by the time he made it to the hospital that morning of December 14th.
Okay.
Such as being confused and disoriented. And he added that people in that state become very thirsty and grab almost anything to drink. So it was a possibility that, James might have gotten confused that morning, poured himself gasoline in a cup or whatever, and set himself on fire.
Of course he did, because that's what we have on our nightstand. Let me go grab my gasoline from down there to take a pill. And then grab a fucking match and turn it on and turn myself on fire.
But what they're trying to do is cause reasonable doubt,
which
right?
is fine. I get that, but it's kind of like, be better, please. Like, come on.
But if that was the case, right? Let's say James did set himself on fire like the defense was arguing. One thing wasn't adding up. James's injuries on the back of his hands.
Yeah.
Right? So the prosecution had a fire inspector testify that James's injuries on the back of his hands couldn't be self-inflicted. There's no way. Right?
Yeah.
How are you going to go like this and then set yourself on fire así con la boca? You grab a match?
One singular match, because that's what was missing.
Y luego you put it in between your teeth.
In your teeth. Y luego lo avientas patooey in the sink. Because ahí estaba en el sink.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to
need you to go upstairs.
And you go upstairs.
And then you're
roll
on
around
fire.
or whatever. And then yell, I'm on fire.
That's what they said.
And then he poured a cup of acetone. Or gasoline, whatever it was.
An accelerant.
Y luego he poured it on himself like this. Like, that makes no sense. Like, what are they talking about? Dude, I would be the most horrible cross-examiner in the whole wide world. I'd be like, girl, please.
No,
come
girl,
on.
You would never make it on jury,
No,
first of all.
I would never. I'd be like, girl, please. You know better than that. You know that did not happen.
You'd just be there laughing like...
You'd be like, girl, are you kidding me? How in the hell is this poor man gonna burn himself with the one? Y toda rompió el pinche match from the matchbook.
Yeah.
Like this. And then he patooed in the sink.
After he set himself on fire, right?
Yeah. So he set himself on fire y luego patooed.
And then went upstairs.
Because there was no way that he could have kept it in his mouth because it was on fire. So he had to go put it out in the sink.
But then nothing else was on fire when he went upstairs, right?
Nothing else.
Just where he was laying in his bedroom.
Yeah. That makes so much sense.
Up to this point, all evidence against Marianne was circumstantial. And on cross-examination, the defense got the fire inspector to admit that, there was no physical evidence against Marianne. Like, her DNA wasn't on anything.
TBH, there wasn't.
Right. Neither on the, not the matchbooks, not the gasoline cups. No, nothing had any DNA. Nothing. There was also no evidence to point that Marianne as the one that had used the match found in the sink. That didn't have her DNA. And even then, there was nothing to prove that that match that was in the sink was the one used to set James on fire.
So that match was just randomly there.
Yes.
Used.
Yes.
Okay. Maybe she turned on a candle.
It was a gasoline candle.
Okay. I'm just saying. It was a James candle.
Yeah. Lastly, there was no evidence that Marianne had even handled any gasoline that night. No one present at the scene ever smelled it on her. She didn't smell of gasoline, like not her hands, not her hair, not her clothes. Nobody ever reported her smelling anything of gasoline or any type of accelerant.
What if she changed and showered?
I don't think there's enough time for that.
It's true.
Now, Marianne never took the stand in her trial.
In her own defense.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, the trial lasted about 2 weeks, 14 days. And at the end of the trial, it would take the jury 2 days before reaching a verdict.
Yeah, that's hard. That's a hard one. I'm sorry. But
They
that's
both had
hard
points.
shit. Yeah. They both had really good points.
And on October 20th, 2008, Marianne was found guilty of manslaughter.
Manslaughter.
Yeah. It stated that it was first-degree manslaughter, which a juror would later go on to say it was due to the lack of physical evidence.
Yes. I mean, there was nothing there.
And she was sentenced on December 19th to 20 years in prison without parole. And remember, she was in her late 50s. So
did she ever say?
She maintained her story. Now, because Marianne wasn't convicted of murder.
Yeah.
She could inherit James's estate, which was $1.25 million.
What the fuck?
Since she had been, listed as the sole beneficiary. It was reported that James's brothers and other family were deciding whether to contest his will or maybe file a wrongful lawsuit against Marianne. But that was back then. And I try to find what actually happened with the case or who ended up inheriting his estate. Because I just, I was curious. I don't know if it would go to his sons.
Chisme caliente.
Because they're his heirs, sus hijos. But, and then Marianne and James never had any children.
Okay.
They never had any children. So his two sons would, but I wasn't able to find anything. So I honestly,
well, if you think about it, if I was Marianne and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna be here for the rest of most of my life. Give me a slit. You can have the rest of it, give it to his kids, but give me a slit. I need something because I'm in here and I need cigarettes. I'm just saying.
Quién
sabe. So you never found out what happened?
I didn't find out. I even went to the probate court, the Norwalk probate court website, but no me salió nada. I couldn't find anything or anything updated. So it says anything before 2011, I had to contact the courts directly. Like I couldn't put all that, baby. But yeah, so yeah, that's the tragic death of James Langley, and I can't imagine being set on fire, dude. That's like the worst crazy. Of anything. I can't.
I mean, she probably got pissed and was like, "Te voy a bautizar en gas," and that was it. But I mean, let's be honest. Let's be open-minded a little bit. I understand why there could be a possibility that she did it because her life was falling apart. They had been together for so long. He had been cheating. She's tired of him cheating, blah, blah, blah. She's been taking care of his diabetes, whatever it is. Not that it's a good idea to do that, but I'm just saying, I could understand why, but they never found anything. They didn't find her clothes. They didn't find her DNA. You could see why she would do it, right? Yes, I could see why, but they never found it. You could see the motive. The motive is what I'm saying. I could be open-minded to being like, okay.
She did it.
She did it because that's I'm psycho. I'm going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would burn somebody, but any woman that's pissed,
and that's why she was.
Look at the women that run over their husbands and all of that stuff. Yeah. Okay, and they're irrationally doing that when they find. Well,
didn't Lorena Bobbitt cut off his
dick?
Yeah,
and then not only that, on
did
top
she
of
drive
that,
with it?
Yeah, she drove with it or something like that. That's another story, girl. But anyway, we need to have a series of crazy women in Houston, and I would be the host. But anyway, so I just feel like I could see that, but the thing is, they didn't find anything.
It's just I don't know. It's just
it's conflicting.
If not her, who?
Yeah, who? Nobody else went. I mean, unless
Maybe she just lost it that night, and you know she did, and she wasn't trying. She just came up with it in that moment. Quién sabe? Pero
I don't think she just came up with this because she had the accelerant.
no, but I'm talking about that day. You know, that day
Unless
she
used like acetone, like nail acetone. That's why
no.
you said.
A lo mejor she waited. He told her, "Okay, I'm gonna leave you," and then se fue a dormir, and then she was like, "Oh fuck, no, he ain't gonna leave me."
And that's some shit that I would do.
Yeah,
like psycho shit.
You wouldn't. You say that, but you would.
Yeah, you wouldn't. I mean, I wouldn't either, but I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's just like, I understand for if she did it for, I mean, she's convicted of it. So he was, you know, cheating on you, but that's not a reason for him to die.
That's not a reason for him to die. Not only that, but dude, like, you're going to spend the rest of your days there. And then what about your kids? Like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just unfortunate. So unfortunate that we get to that point as a human being to be like, I'm going to fuck you up. Like, can you imagine feeling? I can't imagine being at that point.
No.
And I don't want to ever imagine or get to that point. So thank you so much, sister, for the case. I really do hope that everyone enjoyed it. Let us know what you think. If you would like to follow us, you can follow us at
Cafecito and Crime Pod. And you can download our episodes if you want. Rate us. What else?
Download episode, rate us, and
leave us a review. I forgot about that.
Leave us a review.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, you guys. We'll talk to you in the next one.
Bye.